Shedeur Sanders will have won a Super Bowl as a New York Giants quarterback. What do you think?
I don't know, man. This is getting kind of hairy now, and obviously with these pro days and everything, well, you're going to hear a lot of things about a lot of these players. And I think the way that supposedly Dion put it is we're hoping for New York. Now, we've seen Joe Shane and, at Colorado during the football season. We saw him at practice. We saw him talking to Dion. We saw him talking to Shedeur. I don't know about the negativity surrounding Shedeur. That could happen to anybody. That could be a smokescreen. You never know. The one thing that I do know is that the Giants, by signing Jameis Winston, have their backup quarterback, and they have their mentor, if you will. I think Jameis is a really good guy. I think he's a very popular teammate. He's just a little goofy off the field, but not in any mean-spirited way. No. He's not a mean-spirited guy at all. I mean, he's a fun-loving maniac that just loves being a quarterback in the NFL. And he's probably, he's cheaper than Drew Lock was, so he is definitely the backup, at least right now. I don't see Aaron Rodgers coming here and living through this New York media horde once again with the other team in town. I see him going to Pittsburgh for a 2-year deal. Pittsburgh's got the money. I think the framework of that deal is already done. Just a question of if he still wants to play. And Pittsburgh desperately needs a guy like him. And the reason I say that is because of the two of those wide receivers, DK Metcalf and George Pickens. They have to have a real quarterback back there, or whoever's back there is going to be devoured by those two personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as I'm down on Aaron Rodgers being here again, if he ended up having a very good year with the Steelers, it wouldn't surprise me. I just think that there's a really good chance he gets banged up again and can't play 100%. But do you think, does the Jameis Winston signing make you think that the Giants are going to draft a quarterback more now than you did before that? Because with the number 3 overall pick, because Jameis was the first overall pick, and when you're talking about a mentor, that's someone who went through all of that. It wasn't a terrible thing. It wasn't a Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf experience with Jameis Winston.
Let's just put it this way. The Jets and the Giants are not going to the playoffs or the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, they're not.
No, I know that.
I mean, all of this stuff right now is just discussion for, just to see whether or not these personalities, whether it be Justin Fields or Jameis, are able to play and win some games and at least keep the offense moving and make some big plays so the football fans around here can get somewhat excited about what they're watching.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it's more of the question of when I saw that they signed Jameis, I thought two things. One, Brian Daboll thinks he can win some games with them, and he's tired of his offense sucking and being boring. But also that I think that they're bringing in a guy who's got experience being a top pick, who can talk to either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders about what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, that could be part of it, sure, 100%.
Because there's not a lot of those guys out there that fit that mold. I mean, Sam Darnold did, but he got a lot of money. And
he got a lot of money. He got a lot of money for 1 year. The
exactly.
Seattle Seahawks can get out of that deal after 1 year, and it wouldn't cost them.
But
really.
The Giants weren't going to pay that money for a quarterback, and they weren't going to have Sam as a starter.
They were going to pay that money for Matthew Stafford.
Well, true.
And they may actually have a better deal in terms of 1 year deal for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, again, you still don't know what the two teams in front of them are going to do. If they are really into one of these quarterbacks, then maybe they have to trade up, with either Cleveland or Tennessee. If Tennessee loves Cam Ward, they're not going to trade out of that. But, they're, like I said, if the Giants lose these two quarterbacks, that doesn't mean that they can't draft a quarterback in a second or third round and get a stud player at number 3. I mean, that would be really interesting to me, when Tennessee's on the clock, or if there's first of all, there could be a trade before the draft. And I think Russell Wilson's waiting to hear, where Aaron Rodgers is going. The amazing thing to me is that Pittsburgh doesn't want Russell Wilson back.
Yeah, I know. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, about how strange that whole thing unfolded out there, where Justin Fields starts, he wins some games, Russell Wilson comes in, he starts off 6-1, but they fall apart. And then in the offseason, Russell Wilson believed that Justin Fields was preferred by the Steelers over him. But then Justin Fields didn't want the Steelers because he didn't get a chance to play again after going 4-2, and the Jets guaranteed the opportunity for him to start.
Yeah, and he got more money from the Jets.
Right. So then he ends up leaving, and then the Steelers don't want Russell Wilson back. And like, where's he going to go if he doesn't? If the Giants aren't interested in him anymore after Jameis, which apparently they still could be, Cleveland's the only place left, or retirement. There's no other team that's going to take him on. It's a very weird situation for him.
Well, maybe Cleveland, maybe Tennessee still. You never know. You never know what these teams are. They're still going through the evaluating process. I'm sure that there's a lot of discussion going on between GMs about potential trades. I just feel like there's going to be enormous public pressure for the Giants to take a quarterback at the number 3 spot if one of these two players is there.
Yeah.
If one of these two players is not there, then the Giants can get themselves what you would like to think is going to be a Pro Bowl player and is going to be a stud player for many years at a number of different positions, either defensive back or two-way player in Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State, Will Campbell, or the tackle from Missouri, one of those two guys, or Mason Graham, who I still think Abdul Carter and Mason Graham are the most interesting players to me in this draft, and they're both defensive players. One's a defensive tackle, one's an edge rusher, and both of them have motors that don't stop. And whoever gets those two players are going to be very lucky to get those two players, assuming they all stay healthy and everything works out well. Those are, to me, are two players that are can't-miss players in this draft.
Yeah, and you said before when teams ahead of you pick the quarterbacks, then it makes it easy for you to say, okay, well, we couldn't get up there. The price was too high to trade up, and now we have to take this guy. But if that happened 2 years in a row and these two guys worked out, I mean, the luck in that situation would just be horrendous for the Giants. And it would be because they won a couple of meaningless games the last couple of years to get them on the outside looking in when it came to quarterbacks.
You know how we knew the Yankees were not going to get Juan Soto, that the Mets were going to get him, and the Mets were going to pay any amount of money, and the Yankees were going to play the game. We're going to offer him twice as much as we gave Aaron Judge. Essentially, that was the story.
Yeah.
And so Yankee fans could say, hey, we were in it. But the Yankees knew they were never in it. The Yankees knew that, Steve Cohen was going to overpay, and they were going to pay him a boatload of money. But the Yankees could say, hey, we tried. We tried, right? So the Giants could say the same thing. The Giants could say, if those two quarterbacks go first and second, the Giants could say, you know what, we tried to trade up, but we have other issues that we have to deal with, and it just didn't work out. Those two teams took that quarterback. Now we get to take a player that we really want.
Yeah, I mean, and that could happen, but then again, you're talking about a team with absolutely no future at that position unless you hit on a guy later in the draft, where I know we talk about the guys who have been hit on later in the draft, whether it be Russell Wilson or Brock Purdy or Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, but there's far more guys that are drafted in the second, third, fourth round and beyond. I mean, we're talking probably a 20-to-1 ratio that end up being a nothing player.
The other thing the Giants could do is they could trade down, get a couple extra draft picks, and still get a top quality player. They could still do that as long as they don't go outside of like 8 or 9. If they could stay within the top 8 or 9, they're going to get a good player at a very, very important position other than quarterback. And maybe the draft capital that he's able to acquire, if they do that, he's able then to get back into the first round or higher, or be able to get Jackson Dart or one of these other quarterbacks that maybe they feel could be one of those players like you just pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward has his pro day, and apparently after he makes one of his big throws, he turns to the Titans and say, that's all you need to see, and he's trying to...
I mean, these players now, man, I'm telling you, it's just...
But don't you need a little bit of that, though?
I had a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's why I fell in the draft.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I kind of want that from a guy. Now, I know that Caleb Williams said something stupid last year about they're never going to need a punter, and it looked ridiculous during the season. But
they have no idea. They don't know what they don't know yet. They have no idea what it's going to be like when they get into that room for the first time with their team and they start going through their entire game plans and their offenses, and their head is going to be spinning. And just because you're a great athlete and you can throw the ball a mile and you can run a 4.4 40, those are all the measurables that are great until I find the guy that can handle it, like Brock Purdy, like Tom Brady, like Russell Wilson. All of this is just blah to me.
Yeah.
You got to see the kid on the field, and you got to see the kid and whether or not he can handle what the NFL throws at him. And by the way, Bo Nix handled it last year, C.J. Stroud the year before that, Jaden Daniels last year, Michael Penix to a certain extent. You can see that they can manage some of this stuff. Some of these guys are overwhelmed. And just because, and these kids just don't know. They have no idea. They watch it on TV just like we do, and they think, oh, wow, I could do that. Good luck, man. Good luck until you step behind that center and all hell is breaking loose, and the defense is running 50 different defensive coverages, all these different fire zones and blitzes coming from everywhere, and your coach is trying to teach you all of this on the fly, and then when the game really starts, and you're on the road, you're in Philadelphia, you're on your own 5-yard line, and the fans are screaming at you. Nobody can hear a goddamn thing. And you're trying to spit out the play. And then you get up there, and then there's an audible that's alongside that play, and you forget it. And you get your ass kicked and get driven into the ground.
Yeah.
That's when reality hits you smack in the face, and your 4.340 doesn't mean crap at that point.
But I think what Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are thinking is, man, Jaden Daniels had a lot of success. I'm going to be the next offensive rookie of the year. That's what I think they're thinking.
That kid, but that kid is special. I don't know if you saw. Did you see the interview with his mom?
I did not.
Oh, my God. She is awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, she is awesome. So they ask her, what are you afraid of when it comes to your son?
We're talking about Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels' mom. And I'm paraphrasing here, but I was like, she's got her crap together. She looks right at the camera. She goes, the women.
Wow.
There's somebody out there right now that wants, essentially my son. The women. And I'll tell you what, they ain't getting through me. Oh, my God. And then they asked Jaden about that comment.
Yeah.
And Jaden goes, oh, that doesn't surprise me.